Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm MTGO. Today we are live on Twitch playing some Jeskai Feather. So this is a list that recently 5-0'd on MTG Arena. So it's playing a traditional Jeskai, a traditional Feather list with the addition of some Jeskai cards. So Jeskai being blue added into it. So I thought this was something interesting that we can try out, see how it plays comparatively to some of the other deck, like the normal, either red-white version of the deck or even the Naya version. So we'll try that out, see how it goes. But to kind of demo you through the deck, what a Feather deck is built around the card Feather the Redeemed. So whenever you target an instant or sorcery spell, instead of putting that card in the graveyard, you basically exile that card. It's a replacement effect, and you put it in your hand at the beginning of the next end step. That means when you have like targeted protection spells or anything like that, you get to effectively reuse these spells. So what we want to do is play a bunch of kind of protection spells, as well as ways to kind of pump and abuse our instants. So we have Defiant Strike, which makes our creatures get +1/0 until end of turn, and it cycles, so we get to draw a card. We have God's Willing. This allows us to protect our creature. So this is useful because it can both protect the creature from removal, but also, if say we have a really big creature, we can use it to have protection from a color and get through blockers. Infuriate is a one-of. It's just basically a pump spell to make our creature stronger. Reckless Rage is the removal in this deck. So basically use Reckless Rage, target your own creature, so you get the benefit of that. But it deals 4 damage, which can kill pretty much most of the popular creatures that are being played right now outside of some of the Cavaliers. And then you have Shock. You can either target your creature at times or target the opponent directly. Dreadhorde Arcanist is a kind of value engine with the deck as well. When it attacks, you get to cast cards from your graveyard. So this basically lets us rebuy any of these effects here, getting a second trigger off that. When you cast a spell with Dreadhorde Arcanist, instead of it being exiled, if you have a Feather out, it gets put back into your hand. So it's a way to recycle spells that way. The blue element of the deck is adding in Lightning Stormkin. So this is a creature which flying haste, a nice aggressive card that can go over the top and get around some of the ground creatures that you'd traditionally run into. And then you have 10th District Legionnaire. So this is one of the main kind of pump creatures you want in the deck. Every time you target 10th Street, you put a counter on it, and you get to scry 1. So it can get really large, and then what we could do is God's Willing it to make it unblockable. Finally, we have Deputy of Detention. That's another blue splash that we're adding into the deck. So Deputy is very good against Escape Shift meta. It allows us to exile all their zombie tokens, also get blockers out of the way, or something like if they have a Teferi, which could kind of make our instant plan a little bit more difficult. Adeliz is another blue card. So it plays off the Wizards element. So we don't really have... Well, we have 4 Wizards in the deck, actually, so it's not unreasonable. But it basically gives them the Prowess ability, and it's another creature with flying that gets better as you cast more spells. Feather, as I mentioned, is a 3-of, so this is something we want to see. Usually these decks are a little bit more all-in on Feather, so we'll see if the difference makes sense. And then we have 1 Aurelia, so this makes our creatures kind of bigger, gives them vigilance or lifelink depending on their color, and it's another creature that you can mentor. We'll see if it makes sense to go another Feather or just play Aurelia. So this isn't my deck list, this is a 5-0 list, so we'll see how it goes. The mana base is pretty standard as a Jeskai mana base. It'll also be interesting to see if the additional color in terms of the damage and the consistency of our spells makes a difference. We are playing 3 come into play tap lands, which is something to keep in consideration. Sideboard wise, Devout Decree versus red and black things, Aether Gust red and green things, Fry, blue and white things, Lava Coil's general creature removal, Dovin's Veto versus control. The original list had 4 Gideons in the sideboard. I've opted to go 3. I usually find 4 of kind of planeswalkers that don't really replace themselves. A little cumbersome if you draw them in multiples. I opted to go with an extra Teferi. Their list only had 1 Teferi in the sideboard. Teferi is a good way to stop them from interacting if they have like instant speed removal on our turn, so we could kind of combo off in a sense of going through attack stage. Chandra is good against control. It allows you to create tokens, but also lets us recast stuff from our graveyard as need be. And Ajani is a way against control to put pressure on them and eventually lead to an ultimate that could win the game. So that's pretty much the deck. We will take it through some ranked matchups, see how it goes. As always, if you are catching it live on Twitch, thanks for joining. If you do miss any parts of my videos, you can catch them all on YouTube at MTG_Joe. While you're there on YouTube or here on Twitch, if you could drop a follow or subscribe, both are free and easy ways to help support the channel. Finally, before we get started, there is an affiliate link to TCG Player in my video description down below. If you are considering purchasing any cards for this deck or any deck in particular, Commander 19 is coming out. If you follow the link through the video description, do your purchase as normal. Just let them know that I sent you there. Costs you nothing else other than the cards you're buying and is another way to support the channel. So that is pretty much it. Let's get into some gameplay. So I haven't played too much Feather in the normal instances. It's traditionally not a deck that's kind of my style. Oddly enough, the decks I've enjoyed the most this season have been the Nissa-based ramp strategies, which is really out of my playstyle. I'm usually an Esper player at heart. But we are here, we will try it out, so I do apologize in advance if I have any kind of obvious misplays. Yeah, we'll keep this hand. Defiant Strike will cycle on 10th Street. Deputy can clean up if need be. Okay, so this is mono blue. I'm okay for lands here. So I haven't seen too much mono blue recently. We'll see if they have a Curious Obsession draw. A little unfortunate we don't have a shock. They're opting now, which might suggest that they're missing line drops. It's actually very good for us. So I'm not going to show them the blue yet. It's also good that we get the spell in first, or a creature in. They might have missed the line drop as well. Okay, so now we're in a pretty good spot. So I'm going to play out the land in case they have Spell Pierce. And then I'm going to go Dreadhorde Arcanist after that. I'm going to keep the shock on top. That'll deal with that in case they get like an Obsession or something like that. I think we just set up an Arcanist this turn. If we get him to tap out next turn, then it's fine. Okay, so they have a second blocker there. Somewhat aggressive on their part. I want to hold off blue as much as possible so they don't see it coming. Okay, so we'll see what they tap down. Here we can... God's willing this, give it pro blue. Yeah, second God's willing I'll keep. So they don't get the tap ability there, which is useful for us. So seeing what the opponent's doing. I'm probably going to shock as well since we can get it back. So I'm going to shock the Trickster so we guarantee the damage through, and then I'll shock... Probably shock the Storm Tamer since it's a protection spell. Nah, it's more card advantage. Next turn anyways, even if they drop down like a Dijin, I can just shock in for the Deputy of Detention and then exile it that way. The opponent missing the land drops hurt them. So next turn we can God's Willing it, gets it up to 4, and then cast another spell, get it up to 7. It's 8 damage. Oh, that's sweet. So either force them to sack. Doesn't really matter. They could sack 1. So see what they do here. So interesting to see that the blue decks have now gone to unsummon. Okay, so opponent calls it quits there. So Teferi is very good in this matchup. So we'll bring in a couple Teferis. Lava Coil's good. Fry is good. Veto's interesting. I don't think we need it. Probably go down the Infuriate. Go down the Aurelia. Adeliz also seems to get trumped fairly easy. Do we want the Gideons is the question. Probably go down a Stormkin. Deputy, we can probably go down a couple. Maybe bring in Gideons. Because are they going to bring in Spell Pierce? They might bring in more creatures. Blue would have Aether Gust, so that won't hit Gideon. Because this will get blocked by Dijin pretty easy. Like these all get kind of trumped by Dijin. Aurelia's not bad, but it's going to be hard for us to get a 4 drop down. Let's try it like that. The vetoes I don't think I want. They're not really gonna... Mind you, they might bring in Entrancing Melody, so the vetoes might make sense. Okay, so this hand can't keep. This hand can't keep. That hand can't keep. Alright, well... 3 cards to the bottom. We can use Reckless Rage to cycle on one of their creatures. So this was an instance of our mana base not helping us. So we are weak if they have an Obsession draw. Okay, so they don't flash in Spectral Sailor. I'm gonna get the creature down now. This can still block Surgemare. If they want to attack with it, that's fine. This gets it up to 4 power. Let's us scry, but... Let's just try Deputy here. See if they use Wizard's Retort. Okay. Lookout's Dispersal. No attacks here. Fry's good. So we can Fry. Let's set up our draw here. Yeah, I think we keep Feather. So I'm probably going to hold off on the Defiant Strike right now. Probably want to get Feather down, because then we can try to get multiple Defiant Strikes going. Okay, so here I think regardless we gotta force their hand, because worst case it gets them to tap out. Yeah. So they can't play around with this toughness. Start pumping this up. I'll keep the 10th Street. Gives us another attacker. Interesting, they didn't block there. That was a free 4 points of damage. We'll see if that comes back to haunt the opponent. So another Dijin. I think we passed the turn here. Alright, so that does suck. They will be able to refill their hand now. We were recovering nicely from the Multifor, but they'll have counter magic up. Okay, they do the shock. So here we have a choice. We can, I think what we do is just shock it now. And the reason I'm holding the land is, okay, so they use a dive down. They protect it that way. There was an option to shock our own thing to make it bigger. And they unsummon. So falling a bit behind here. Teferi wouldn't be bad. Teferi's a way we can potentially bounce the Tempest Dijin. But we are on a 2-turn clock and they are drawing more gas. Yeah. Couldn't recover on that one. So I think I might want the deputies more than I want the Gideons in this matchup. Aurelia on defense doesn't actually trade well with the Dijins. Play first. This is a much better hand. We will keep. So we don't really have pump spells. But we got a lot of pressure. It's also awkward we only have one red source. Cerulean Drake. Okay. Here I think we just set up the Arcanist. So what we do is then that way our spells can be doubled up. Okay, so that does allow us to deputy if need be. I think we try it out. Okay, so they do have Essence Capture. Makes it a bit worse in terms of racing. second Drake. And Pteramander. So here... So let's get rid of the Pteramander. This is target creature you control. Alright, probably keep the second red source. So it does make it a little awkward. God's Willing doesn't draw us a card. This already has Pro, so we'll just pass the turn. So they are getting under us in this game. They hit us for 3 a turn. See if they have a counter spell here. They don't. So let's try to get rid of the Pteramander. Okay, so they partially tap out there. I'm gonna wait to see if they try to adapt. Nope, you don't deal with what we needed to do. Teferi be good here. I can target this to deal some more damage, but I think we just go like that. Just end the turn. Gonna try to shock the Pteramander on my end step. They hit us for 3. They do have enough to adapt Pteramander. So that would force them to tap out a mana this turn, and then we have Fry open as well. See if they decide to adapt. Okay. So I think mana-wise, we get rid of Djinn. Okay, so we got Shock. So that might just be enough to push through the damage we need. So I'm going to do this before combat. Pro white. Because then I can... Oh, crap, I did pro white. I meant to do pro blue. That was a mistake. So cast this. Nope. Pro blue. Drawing all our shocks. So they get the block there. That might have screwed us up. Then I am gonna just shock Pteramander here. And just end the turn. So they opt. They do need another blocker. See if they attack with Cerulean Drake. That's fine. So they have the Storm Tamer. They have 2 blocks in. Get them to tap some mana down now. They can tap with the Storm Tamer. Like they could pay the 1 mana to take the 2 damage. But Dreadhorde gets to cast back the shock. Opponent is thinking. Okay, so we have a feather. So that would get 2 damage in. They block that, but I think they're dead regardless unless they have something that can block. And got him. Sweet. 1-0 with the list. Almost took the game 2 of that with the Malta 4. So let's get another one. Thanks for those tuning in live on Twitch. We are playing a Jeskai Feather list that recently 5-0'd on MTGO. Currently 1-0 with the list against Mono Blue Tempo. If you're new to the channel, I am starting to stream a bit more in terms of live on Twitch, but I've been doing YouTube content 4 to 7 videos a week on YouTube, MTG_Joe. Play a lot of budget builds there, do some build series, play some tier 1 lists, kind of a mix of everything. Let's try this one out. I want to see how Lightning Stormkin works in the deck. Like, Reckless Rage isn't good with it. It doesn't get the bonus of Lightning Strike. I think going blind on turn 1, we can keep shock up. And we are rewarded for our play. So going up against vampires, it looks like. So Reckless Rage on our current board state's probably not the best. Ooh. I would love to shock Knight of Eben. Just get that out of the way. I think at this point I want another threat. We have the Gods Willing to protect, but would like something else to kind of complement it. Adeliz is sweet. So opponent does have an opening to get down some sort of removal spell. If not, we are in a pretty good spot. So here, I can cast Reckless Rage. It triggers Prowess. It can get rid of the Legion Lieutenant. So let's start with that. So that's a way to keep it alive. Can we kill them this turn? So target Adeliz. We're short a white source. Okay. So a good chunk of damage at least. Next turn at least we have a God's Willing, so we have the 6 points of damage. I will actually be too short there. We have Sorin. So we're hurt a little there. Here. I think it's right. We get rid of the Legion Lieutenant. Sorin right now on its own. think we can get it to go unchecked. That might be wrong, but with our life total the way it is, I think we need to try to get him dead as quick as possible. Okay, so they have the cast down. So this is an instant where it's quite aggressive on their part. Triple God's Willing, not helping. Yes, they have Conquistador. Alright. We lost this one. This is part of the issue with Feather. We only drew 2 creatures that game. In this matchup, Devout Decree and Fry are both good. Lava Coil as well. Probably Teferi's coming out Aurelia. I have really not liked Aurelia. It's come out every single match. Infuriate's not that good. 4 cards to cut. Adeliz wasn't bad there. I can't get hit by cast down. Stormkin goes over the top where Arcanist can somewhat get stuck under some creatures. Maybe a trim of each. This is tough. I like Shock. Do we just go down the Adeliz? It was okay that game. But we probably just want Feather instead. Let's go down like that. So 10th Street, yeah, this hand's a lot better. It is a little awkward just with our mana base, so we're hoping to find an untapped land. They got their... let's just go that. The one good thing is next turn, if we can draw an untapped land, we can 10th Street and Reckless Rage. Which is not what we have. Here, I'll just set up the Arcanist. Okay, so they'll sack to get rid of the Arcanist. This hand has been very awkward. Just go Deputy this turn, get rid of Sorin. I don't think I want Sorin with an Adonto going. Okay, so here let's go 10th Street. Reckless Rage. God's Willing is great. Protects our stuff. And Auto Tapper screwed up our tapping, so we can't play the Lightning Stormkin. So here I'm just gonna play out Feather, leave it at that. So block here. We get the scry here and we get it back. Give it pro white. The Arcanist. Yeah, we can keep the Arcanist. So let's see what the Sorin does here. And then just put a counter on. So here we have to take down Sorin. Otherwise we're dead just from the uptick ability. And then we do have God's Willing to protect our Arcanist. So I'm just gonna set up the scry here. Oh, they conceded. Alright, so probably just run it back. Stormkin was okay there, it gets over the top of a Donto. Otherwise, Adeliz seems a little weak. Just run it back. They do get to be on the play, which is quite advantageous for them. This hand will not do. Keep this one. I'm gonna put the God's Willing away right now. So we are missing red, but we effectively have 2 removal spells. So we can I'll just hold off. The thought was to Defiant Strike at the end of their step, but is it worth us taking 2 damage is the question. And we are drawing none of the cards we want. This is also sorcery, which makes it a lot worse. So we're just trying to draw a red source here. And that is not a red source. So we can Teferi, bounce the Adonto. I think we just Devout Decree Legion's Lieutenant. So the mana base has been inconsistent with this deck. That is one thing we've noted. See how we can recover with this turn. Probably made sense to play Teferi first before shocking. So we'll shock the Legion's Lieutenant here. It's actually not bad. It gives us another shot with Teferi. So another red source is actually great for us. So I think we need to Reckless Rage now. And then depending what they have, I'm just gonna block here. They don't, outside of Sorin, which would kill us anyways. Okay. Yep, they got us. They had us dead anyways. Our mana base screwed us up there. So 1-1, beat mono blue. Took 1 out of the 3 matches or games against vampires. We'll run it back for 1 more. How are we doing today, chat? This is a Jeskai Feather deck. It's kind of like a mashup between Feather and Wizards. It's felt pretty good at times. It's also felt kind of clunky with the mana base. Just not being able to cast our spells in a timely fashion. Like this hand. Now we also don't have red spells. Reckless Rage is probably better than God's Willing. Alright, well, looks like we're against Scape Shift, so let's see how we do. The triple Reckless Rage hand is also very awkward against a deck that traditionally doesn't play creatures. Okay, I guess this one does have the Rejuvenator. I'm gonna do this now since they might have Teferi out. It also can try to draw us into more lands. Yeah, Quantum Science. Like when we have had our mana, it's been great. We've had like kind of a wizard's turn against them. When you start getting like the loop going with God's Willing, Feather, and 10th Street, it's really powerful. But it's been a few games now where we've mulled to 4 or 5 just because mana's been awkward. We'll do this now just since they likely will start getting zombies next turn. I'm trying to hold off the God's Willing until I get Feather down, so that way I can keep making this unblockable against the zombies. Okay, so they Scape Shift here. Interesting that they got rid of a Field of the Dead. So they went with the Blast Zone plan. Okay, so I think we just go Feather. Say Goat. I kind of want them to attack in. I was hoping they attacked in with more. Ooh, okay. So it's Defiant Strike. I think I just want more pump spells. I need the God's Willing this turn. Mana actually helps. Let's choose the right color this time. So I hit him for 9. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we just go conservative. We have them dead pretty much. So they'll put a counter on Blast Zone most likely. They're going to want to get to 2. And then they'll be able to protect. When they crack that, I will also Reckless Rage just to get some value there. So let's just kill one of these zombies. We just need to survive this turn. And then hope no Teferi. But I feel like if they had a Teferi, they would have played it. Okay. Krasis is a little annoying. So here I need to Reckless Rage. Okay, we gotta make Xaxes. Cool. Beatscape shifts. Alright. Poor mana aside, we are able to take him down. In this matchup, probably want the Dovin's Veto. Fry is probably also useful. Do we want Gideon? So the flyers are good. Probably cut the Arcanists. They get blocked by the ground too easy. Gideon's a big body. It can also... Aether Gust can put stuff back on the stack. Don't really want to bounce their stuff. Probably cut down an Aurelia. A Johnny makes their stuff bigger for our flyers. Nah, probably just play some Gideons. Shocks away for reach. Just get rid of probably 1 Reckless Rage. Maybe 2 Reckless Rage. They're not as useful in this matchup. Bring in the Aether Gusts. Run it back. Like Teferi for them, we don't want to bounce a zombie. We don't want to bounce their ETB creatures. Like, don't want to give them another Krasis. I'm going to keep this hand. It's not as explosive, but double Deputy is good. Gideon can put a reasonable clock. Is hoping to also not draw consecutive lands.
Sorry, I'm late. Let's try this.
Okay, or now we're just drawing all lands.
I will defend the weak at every opportunity. I believe in you, friend.
So depending on what they play out now, they do have 3 different lines right now. Probably their best play on turn 4, Circuitous Route, with us not having enough pressure. Okay, so they do have Deputy.
My strength gave out. No, I am not making this up as I go.
So I'm probably going to Deputy their Deputy. So I played that land because I want to keep God's Willing up. So that way if they down tick to Fairy on my Deputy, I can protect it. Oh, actually I can't. Ah, stupid passive ability. So here... it's just plus... give this... well, that was very effective. Ah, da 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 da. A little bit of a waste, but I think we lost this one anyways. Was not expecting the instant speed time wipe. We've also drawn literal lands. I got two critical. Okay, so they got Rejuvenator. So if we don't draw another reasonable threat, I'm just going to call it quits on this one. Yeah. 9 lands at the beginning of the game. So Chandra might be better than Gideon here. Maybe Teferi. They do have a Deputy. We have Fry. Reckless Rage becomes a bit better. Actually, let's go down the vetoes and just go all Planeswalker. Go up the Arcanist. Chandra buys back. Reckless Rage is fine. Let's just bring just one Arcanist. Teferi makes some of our spells worse. You saw the difference that game compared to game 1. But I think it's also imperative that we... like, I kept that hand on the crest of... yeah, let's keep this one. This one's nice and aggressive. We had double Deputy, but... so I'm going to play Steamkin out, or the Stormkin first. 10th Street becomes better if we can protect it. Again, drawing a lot of lines. So they'll get their 4th land here. So we're trying to avoid a field. Okay, Memorial's fine. Another game, another mix of lands. Okay, so it's another Elvish Rejuvenator. Still putting a decent clock on them. Jeez. White's more important. Ideally, I'd like to save the God's Willing for when we could push through more damage, whether it be lethal. Again, 8 lands. That I'm cool with. Pro blue.
I'm known for an excellent fight. This might be a bad idea.
So they don't have time wipe up. So I think we just try to get him dead. Yep. Escape Shift's a good deck. So they went the life game plan, they set up their next draw. They get to block a 10th street. So we kind of got to hope to go all in. The deck's got some inconsistencies. I don't think the added blue really makes much value. Hydroid Crisis. So what's our line here?
Don't worry, I got this.
Another land. We drew 4 spells and 11 lands. Alright, I think I'm done with this deck. Play one other kind of pet deck of mine. And then wrap up the stream for some dinner, and I'll be back later. Would you guys rather see rotation proof Golos Field of the Dead, Yarok, or Mirror March Elementals? Any preference, chat? Let's go with the gates. I want to kind of see if we can fine tune this one. Just play best of one with it. Rotation gates. Why aren't you playing? So this one's basically a mashup of like 5-color gates, Golos, Field of the Dead, so it's kind of like a Escape Shift deck, a Yarok deck, Gates deck, all in one. We have a guy who's a fan of Kawhi Leonard. His hand is sweet. Put in the Guild Gate. Let's just go blue source here. No attacks. Okay, I'll run Mirror March Elementals after this one. Come on, block. Okay, so they light up the stage. They do the Spitfire. So a little slow here. Just pass turn. Let's see if they... Okay, so they do got the Cavalcade. Come on, Arena. So I got a couple of life gain lines, I think, in here. I don't. So we don't have a Dimir Guild Gate, and we can go Azorius. Gets us some tokens to block with. So that should save us at least a turn. Next turn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ooh, second Cavalcade's bad. So just block like that. Yarok is sweet. So let's go Yarok first. And then this will get us 2 zombies. chip in for some damage. Just end the turn. Gonna gain some life back next turn with Hydrate Crisis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'll gain 3 life back. We are dead on triggers. Alright. Turn too slow there. Let's do the Mirror March Elementals. So the Mirror March Elementals is basically a Temur variant that's looking a little bit more on the ramp side. You have Healer of the Glades to survive the early game. And then you're basically trying to get Mirror March out, get a bunch of Omnath triggers. So far, the highest I've gotten is 5 to just kind of one-shot your opponent. Come on, Arena. We'll play this. Then I'll grab some dinner, and then hopefully be on a little bit later tonight. There's a couple requests to revisit Izzet Saheeli, so I'll take a look at some variations of that deck. A little bit slower of a hand. Opponent goes first. Let's try it out. Feel like you gotta keep hands with Risen Reef. I want land here. Healer of the Glade. This looks like vampires most likely. Our Esper. They Thought Erasure us. It's amazing how Esper Hero always has turn 2 Thought Erasure. Risen Reef would be my guess. Best card in the deck. I messed that up. I thought we had red out. So 2 points of unnecessary damage.
I know my responsibility.
See if they bounce it.
I've got it.
Turn 2 Thought Erasure is a beautiful art. Yet when I play Esper, I get everything other than turn 2. So they're most likely gonna... they might not bounce the Trailblazer. We still don't know if this is the full control variant or Esper Hero. Okay, so it's Esper... this one is Hero. They'll uptick here.
Here we go.
So here I'm just going to go Scourger. It provides us the most bodies. So I kind of want them to attack Healer the Glade, or block Healer the Glade. Because then I can Spark double the Scampering Scorcher. Okay, so they got that one. So they are taking 2 points of damage here.
Only time will tell.
Hopefully they don't have another Teferi. Okay, so Deputy here. Trailblazer's probably the pick. Okay. Another land would be good. So we can shock. Ooh. I like Mirror March. See how they block here. They know we have the shock. So I just get this out of the way. Makes our future attacks a little bit better. They're gonna Dovin's Veto this. Not a bad play by the opponent. We can Spark Double the Trailblazer. Makes our stuff a little bit more powerful. And then the Scorchers, they all become 3 power. I also really like Arisen Reef. Okay, so I think that indicates to us our game plan. No attacks this turn. We can go Scorcher and then copy it with Spark Double.
Right on schedule.
Big boy Teferi.
I'm not ready for this quite yet.
So we'll see if they get aggressive with the attacks at all. Okay, another land. They'll get 2 blocks here, but we do need to kill Teferi. Esper's a very tough matchup for this deck, especially because like you drop Mirror March and then they just Teferi bounce it. Or they just have multiples.
I know my responsibility. Time is much more malleable than people think.
So I don't think we have much of a shot here. The awkward thing is we don't even have anything good to Mirror March. Like we can Mirror March a 1/1. And we're drawing another Spark Double. Let's see what they draw. Probably just
We need to move quickly.
Kyle this one quits. That'll draw him into more removal. Or just here's a baby Teferi, bounce our Mirror March. I'm playing best of 1 unranked for the jank. Okay, well, that literally reads, you're not allowed to have fun. Alright, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to go grab some dinner. Thanks for those who tuned in live. I'll try to come back in about an hour's time, depending on my meal. Just gotta eat and walk the dog. Thanks for those who tuned in. If you missed any parts, you can catch everything live or replayed on my YouTube channel. Have a great night if we don't see you later.